Because here's what we can do. We have a choice when we're confronted in this situation. Peter could have said, when Jesus said, let's go out, put out your nets. Oh, look, we've been doing this, and it's just not going to work. But Peter said instead, because you say so, okay, I'll go. So he didn't have like a full degree of confidence. But that's okay. He obeyed. And so when he obeyed, then God was able to work. So here then we have when he responded, when he saw then Jesus work, he became afraid. So that's kind of an interesting response. And really, it's a response that happens throughout the Bible. You know, the Bible talks about the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And many people these days don't like to talk about fear and God. So many preachers will say things, well, it's, God's love and He's wonderful and He's, but God is also powerful and He is also a judge. And there is a reason to be afraid. Peter knew, he knew that he was a sinful man. And he knew that he had grabbed onto and seen something now more than just him. And he was afraid. And that is an appropriate response to a powerful and awesome God, because He has the power of life and death. But now notice again how Jesus responded. He didn't say, yeah, that's right, fear me. He said, don't be afraid. When you look at how Jesus interacted, remember there was a woman who was caught in adultery. And she was brought to Jesus. And so the people said, this woman was caught in adultery, and, what should we do? So the law said she should be stoned. Well, of course, there's the other part. Well, what happened to the guy if she was caught in adultery? There's two people. But anyhow, just the lady was brought for some reason. So there's something going on there. But at any rate, they bring this woman, and Jesus didn't say, she is a wicked sinner, stone her. But instead, he bent down in the ground, and he looked up, and he said, whoever is without sin, cast the first stone. And people began to look at themselves and look around, and the older people started leaving first because they recognized, well, I'm a sinful person. They left. They were wise. And then finally the younger people who were more eager and zealous and really wanted to fulfill the law, because you have to obey the law. You have to obey the law. And Jesus looked at her and he said, look around you. Where are your accusers? And she said, they're not here. And Jesus said, neither do I accuse you. Go and leave your life of sin. So there's two things there. One, Jesus says, do not fear, to Peter. To this woman, he says, I do not accuse you, but leave your life of sin. When Jesus comes and when he calls and he asks us to change. He's not playing with sin. He is he is an awesome God, but he calls us to come out. Those are the calls that he has. So when Peter then was called, so Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. I don't know if Peter understood everything about that. You think about it. Okay, he was a fisherman. He caught fish. From now on, you will catch men. I don't know if Peter understood fully what he meant, but look at his response. So they pulled up their boats on shore and left everything and followed him. Now that is a response of someone who has come into the presence and into contact with God. He saw, he heard, and Jesus said, "Come, follow me." And that is the call that God makes to all of us, to each one of us. God, who is the amazing, powerful Creator God, says, "Come, follow me." Now, Peter didn't understand everything that he was going to do. But God says, "Come, follow me." And Peter understood, and he saw enough at that point that he left everything. I mean, that's pretty serious commitment right there. Right? What did he leave? He left his job. He left his family. His what?
Boats, which would be like leaving your car.
That's right. Left his car, his job, his family, and he went and followed him. That's quite a response. But Jesus is looking for people who will hear his call and are going to respond, because God is always calling each one of us. He isn't just the creator, powerful God, but he created us to be in his image. You remember when Adam was there in the garden, and God had him doing some work. He was there tending the garden, and he had him name the animals and look around. He was looking for a suitable helper, and there was none to be found. And God said, "It is not good for him to be alone." And so at that point, he created Eve to be with him. Adam was made in the image of God. Part of that image is this need for fellowship, the need to be with, the need not to be alone. And part of that is really based on the nature of God, who is a God of relationship. That he knew that he created Adam in his image. He needed a relationship there. And God calls each one of us to be in a relationship with him. Not just knowing that there's this powerful creator, but that he says, "Come, follow me, know me, because I want to know you. I want you to know me, to walk with me each day." And he didn't just leave Peter there. He didn't just say, "Peter, thanks. That was a great job. Good job obeying me." But he said, "Now come. Come and follow me." And he called him to change his whole life. So the first thing that God does is he calls us to follow him. Jesus says, "Come, follow me." And that takes a drastic decision on our part, because he is asking us to leave those things that we trust in. Our jobs, our family, our money, our security. And he says, "Come, follow me." Now, that begins a journey. Now let's look a little bit later in this situation. So let's turn now to Matthew chapter 16. And over the lives of the disciples, they learned quite a bit about who Jesus was. As he was doing miracles and he was healing people, they would see, it's like, wow. One time they were out on a lake with him. The disciples had been with Jesus.